Welcome to our March ICETE Virtual. We are so glad that each of you are joining us and that you are here with us today, whether this is morning, afternoon, or evening for you. Today, we get to hear from two of our regions that are part of the ICETE community. We get to hear from the Caribbean and from Europe. And to help us today, Michael is not here, but Elias Casal, who is the chair of our board. He is here with us today, and he's going to just kind of help lead us through a discussion of what is happening. And then we'll, of course, do our breakouts like we typically do in a time of hearing from you all also. But I just want to go ahead and turn it over to Elias, and he'll introduce our two people who are sharing with us today.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this gathering. Glad to see some familiar faces. And if this is your first time, we're glad that you can join us and to learn more about ICETE and ICETE members. And I'm glad to be joined today by two of my colleagues, Anthony and Eric. Anthony represents CETA, which is the Caribbean Evangelical Theological Association, and Eric, who is here on behalf of the ECTE, the European Council for Theological Education. And both of them are very involved in their own networks. And welcome, Anthony. Welcome, Eric. It's good to have you with us as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
Yeah. Why don't you maybe in turn tell us a bit more about, first of all, where you're calling in from, and then maybe tell us about your member association and, some of the latest things and exciting things that's happening in your region. So maybe we start with Eric.
Great. Yeah, my name is Eric McCauley, and I represent Europe, so the European Council for Theological Education. And I have been actually working there part-time for the last couple of years, but usually Marvin Oxenham would probably be doing this, or Carmen. But Marvin said that last month, he spoke, and so it would be good to have another face here, and so I'm glad to do that. We have about 80 different organizations that are members, and we have maybe about half of those who are actually for accreditation types of things. We're primarily for tertiary education. And so this is something that keeps us busy, not just doing the quality assurance, but trying to capacity build and help them, each school. This is similar. We all do the same types of things. And so I won't go into that. A couple of things that are highlights for us. Back in 2023, ECTE actually made it onto the European Quality Assurance Register. And so this is quite a big deal for us to show that we are at the same quality as the governmental accrediting agencies as they accredit their state schools. And so this has been something that has been new for us, and it's actually been very nice. We've learned quite a bit. We've grown tremendously in the things that we are doing to do better quality. And it also shows that we're on par, on level on the things that we were doing. And so that's very, very encouraging. Also, a couple of years ago, we started a new activity, not just institutional or program accreditation, but we've started accrediting micro-credential providers. Micro-credential basically is a short course that is actually gaining more prominence in Europe and also worldwide. And so what we are doing is we are accrediting the provider, so that we understand that they have the quality processes and assurances as they create their own micro-credentials, and so that they would be able to do that themselves. And those are really short things. I'll give it over to Anthony, and then we can do some more questions if there's time.
Thanks, Eric.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And Eric, that's very helpful also. So just be reminded and also be informed of some of the things you're doing in Europe. Caribbean Evangelical Theological Association, actually, this year is our 53rd year of serving in the region, and the first school to be accredited was 40 years ago, and that is an institution in Puerto Rico. And they actually wrote a book recently published, and they took it to our General Assembly, as we had representatives from Puerto Rico coming over here, and affirming that though they are responsible, for instance, to the Puerto Rican authorities, and their registration also has to do with the United States, that the president and the dean pointed out that they are in the Caribbean and they value the CETA accreditation. And so that was very reaffirming and very encouraging. Okay, so where are we? In the Caribbean region, we have about 25 institutions that are members. Some of these members have not been active, and we have been re-engaging them. So we have seen that we have been taking place, means a lot of phone calls and conversations and so forth. So we have 25 members in the general English, in the English and French speaking countries. In Cuba, there are about 45 theological institutions in Cuba, but they are part of one organization. I said the Association of Cuban Evangelical Theological Association. And so basically they are like one body, 45 institutions, but it's seen like one. We help with their accreditation. They have developed standards, and we help to affirm them and to let them know, because there's no accreditation for theological programs in Cuba. They have systems of accreditation for engineering and medicine and those fields, but not for theology. And so the Cuban authorities, Evangelical Association there, what they have done is develop standards consistent with the guidelines that are used in the general society and are accepted. And so we pivot and we try to examine them based on those standards, because there's a sense in which they need to have some sort of credibility within their own context as well. But they go through the review process, and at this point we have about 2 of their institutions that are accredited by that situation. So where are we? As we speak, we just concluded our 26th General Assembly into the biennial consultation, and we had people like Dr. Michael Ortiz and Tim Bahula came in. We also have coming in from Australia, Dr. David Turnbull. And so the consultation was from Monday of this week to Wednesday, and Thursday until tomorrow, Saturday, we have a post-consultation training dealing with quality online training, helping us to develop systems and procedures and to help with the adding value to our staff and students, so that we can provide high quality online theological education. Just about all of our theological institutions in the region have financial difficulties. We do not have, in general, economy of scale. And we think that we perhaps with online, because of the number of islands, and what we have seen is that intra-regional travel is much more expensive. It's cheaper to go perhaps from one of our Caribbean countries straight to, say, Miami or Florida or New York than it is sometimes to travel within some of our own countries because of the volume of traffic, And what we also see, that whereas, say, 3-4 decades ago, persons would be leaving some of our territories and coming to Jamaica to study. I see Jamaica as the theological hub, in terms of the most advanced institutions. I think that's a fair statement. And I am from Trinidad, right? So I'm not. So I am in Jamaica now, but it's just it's more of a fair evaluation in terms of the number of institutions that are accredited and have master's programs and quality over a longer period and so forth. So, but persons are not leaving those territories, say like Guyana or Trinidad and Tobago or Barbados or Bahamas, to come to Jamaica as they once did. So, with online programs, it will help us significantly. Then, because of the help of ICETE, there's a number of things that ICETE has assisted us and we are benefiting from. For instance, the whole issue of micro credentials. We are seeing that this poses some tremendous opportunities for us to help with the training of many more people in the church. Our reason for being is the church. We serve for discipleship, we serve for leadership, and so we see with the micro credentials that will be extremely helpful, as well as competency-based theological education. But we think that there's more potential for us in terms of the micro credentials for most of our theological institutions. And we are also at CETA looking to engage more non-formal and informal programs. And we are seeing World Hope has training programs here in the region and some other institutions. And we have started some conversations. We were hoping that, for instance, that World Hope would have been with us this particular year. We've had several conversations with some of their leadership in the region, but they have certain workshops and leadership things that are going on. But they're saying they will try their best to be involved in the next time. But not only that, but they'll be looking at getting their institutions to become members of CETA. Another thing that has helped us tremendously with ICETE is the alignment. So we pointed out that some 40 years ago, the first institution in CETA was accredited, and that's an institution in Puerto Rico. And so that's how long we have been doing accreditation. Our accreditation commission has been involved. But our accreditation commission has not itself been evaluated. We follow standards and so forth, but our own institution, it has not been evaluated. And so with the help of ICETE and a grant of $5,000 that each regional ICETE affiliate has received, including $1,000 for membership fee and so forth, we see this as helping us tremendously, because the accreditation process for both for individual institutions, Bible institutions, as well as the accreditation commission is developmental. So already we are seeing some weaknesses. One of our most glaring weakness is financial. But we have been talking to even at this consultation, talking to our people, and we are thinking that we can see that our financial situation will improve. Because people were asking the question, what value added? What are you adding to me? Because they're thinking, okay, well, we have to spend money for membership fee and we have to spend money for accreditation. And coming to this occasion, for instance, we've had a lot of people, and the quality of it, people are starting to see value. And there's been value before, but we've been able to point it out, and we are seeing people willing to commit to the process. And so we are very, very encouraged by what's taking place. Let me stop there. We can take questions later.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. We will have more time for questions first and breakout groups in a couple of minutes. And then afterwards, when we all come back together from the breakout groups. But before we do that, first of all, I want to congratulate you on 53 years. I mean, that's a major milestone. Congratulations. And, I pray for many years to come with CETA growing and making an impact on the Caribbean. Eric, if you can, share with us some of the challenges that are emerging. We hear about Europe, being more secular. How does that impact theological education and what's happening in your part of the world?
Yeah, thanks, Elias. I think one of the challenges that we have that everybody has is capacity and resources, right? So it doesn't matter if you're in Asia or Africa or in the Caribbean. Typically, the schools are smaller, and that's one thing that we also face. Being in a secular society, um, it depends on the country. You know, some have more um, not just history with Christianity, but if they've embraced it or not. I would say that pretty much we've been going under the radar.
Mm.
Um, I do sense I've seen some things in the past couple of years to see that there are growing amounts of Christian movements throughout Europe, which has been very, very slow. But I've been here for 23 years and I've seen the percentages of evangelical Christians bump up just a little, very tiny, tiny bit, which is encouraging, even though it's slow. One thing that we are facing, it's interesting, as we've been accredited through the European Authority and we're on this register, we don't really fit anything. And so that's one of our challenges. We're not a state, we're cross border. And so there really isn't a place. And as micro credentials are coming in, it's kind of opening lots of possibilities. And I think that we're very positioned very well, even though a lot of people say, well, what is this? You're not nationally recognized, but you're an other provider. And so this is kind of a new thing in the past 5 years in Europe. And so it's a newness. And so there's a challenge of showing our credibility, showing that we have the same quality level as others. And so it's challenging and frustrating and yet also potential.
Wow, it's interesting, and I'm sure it's an evolving thing, right? Even as our the world is changing, and we're seeing new trends and technology and all those things mixed together.
Yeah.
It's the nature of theological education to be reacting. I mean, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but you try and be proactive, but sometimes it's just the world is moving too fast, and
Yeah.
education is it takes slower, it moves at a slower pace. But thank you both. This is very interesting and informative. Um, we will have more time and time now to split into groups. Anthony in one group and Eric in one group, and our guests will be able to join whichever group that they want, and then we'll spend about 15-20 minutes there, and then come back for more general comments and questions. Hope you had a good discussion in your own groups. Um, we have some time now to just maybe ask Anthony and Eric general questions, or maybe general comments on what you've heard. And then maybe we'll have some time at the end also to hear from more from Anthony and Eric about what's happening in their region. But any questions, any comments, any observations that emerged from those breakout rooms?
I'm gonna finish. I was in the middle
Yeah,
of
yeah, go
of
ahead.
answering. So Jonathan had asked me about the micro credential providers, and he said, "Who has already been accredited?" And so one is a unique organization. Our Daily Bread Ministries, stationed in Michigan. They have worldwide online classes and courses that they've used to be called Our Daily Bread Ministry University, and they've changed it to Artos Academy. And so all of their courses are online, and they're trying some creative things actually. And so that would be one that I would say is not typical, and I think is opening up the opportunities. because they'd never been accredited for anything before, and so now they are their formal education, and so that'll be something to really look out to see how expand that. They're very close with the competency-based theological education too. They've merged both of those really closely, so that will be one to watch. There is Union School of Theology in Wales is also doing micro credentials, but they're starting with a very specific type of micro credential. In their doctoral program, they're realizing many people who are coming don't have research skills. And so they are creating specific micro credentials to help them learn all the qualitative and quantitative and how to write before they actually get into their doctoral program as a bridge. Another school in Germany, the ETS school in Knebus. It's the Church of God. And they are basically taking one of their programs and dividing it up so that it would be an easy entry for people to maybe start a couple of courses and maybe that's it, or if they want to do more. And that's at a level 5, I think, so a bachelor level. So those are the types of things that are all very different. And one thing about the micro credentials is they could mean everything and nothing. It's so flexible. It's one of their strengths and one of the weaknesses. If you don't know exactly what you want to use it for, it could become overwhelming very quickly.
I do have a question for Eric.
Yep.
I understand from both Anthony and you that you micro credentials, you're taking specific subjects, but how would you apply that to a more typical systematic theology class? How would you break that up? How does micro credentials apply to what we're used to seeing more as a typical class?
Yeah, like I said, they're very flexible. So you could make it almost any way. First, I will say that micro credentials are not meant to replace the longer programs, longer credentials. We definitely need those. So just going in, you need to think, you don't need to, but I would say any way to supplement that or any way to support something that has already been instructed in a course. You could maybe take a facet of it and say, how does this play out in the workplace or in the church? And as long as you are having outcomes and assignments and assessments, and that you can track all of those things at a certain level for a certain duration, then you can make it anyway. So it just depends on your creativity if you want to do a specific theology class. And I would say it would probably be good to link it with something, not just theology, so you don't want the fragmentation. If you could link it to something, systematic theology and family or in the church, I think you could find many, many touch points, but it really depends on the need. What exactly are you trying to do? I just kind of talked around there. I don't know if that answered anything that you were looking for, James.
Anthony, any comments on micro credentials? How you guys are dealing with that?
I was asked a question on that as well, and from Rob Hayden. And what I will say is that we believe that because ICETE has developed standards for micro credentials, and also there's an alignment process, and we are going to be seeking alignment. That is our accreditation commission with ICETE for our regular programs and for micro credentials as we interact with our member schools, institutions. We are going to be saying to them, these are the standards. So as Eric says, micro credentials can mean everything, and you're not so sure. But we want to guide them to do good quality as they enter the curriculum, and these courses will invariably be taught online. Most of them will be taught online. So we were looking at that online piece in terms of pedagogy, andragogy, how it is taught using the technologies, and also being specific, could this be different from your regular program, and so on and so forth. And again, we want to credit ICETE for assisting us to think through some of these things. And I want to point out that ICETE has been ahead of the game with micro-credentials. Some of our national accreditation institutions are now talking about it as though it has just started, but ICETE has been talking about this for 3-4 years now, and competency-based. So we want to thank God for people like Marvin and the entire team into the division, and our own institutions are starting to see, yes, ICETE is really on the cutting edge. And because we are affiliated, CETA is also on the cutting edge.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Anthony. Any other questions or comments?
I just put the ECTE's web page for micro-credential provider accreditation. Our standards and guidelines are there, but also forms and templates. So if you're interested in what that looks like, everything we have is on that page.
A question was asked of me in terms of some of the challenges our schools have, and we answer that. But we are seeing that the volatility of our region is really a challenge. Just briefly, like in Haiti, for instance, over the last 4 years, we've been having a lot of violence in Haiti. And 3 of our member schools that are located in the Port-au-Prince area, they usually would attend our General Assembly, but they have not been able to because the airport in Port-au-Prince has been closed. And to go to the other airport in the north is too dangerous by road. And not only that, but the cost for them to get to the conference, there are about 3 delegates from Haiti, but they're from the northern area. It is super expensive because of the route they have to take, and it's not all that far. Haiti is not all that far from Jamaica, but you have that challenge. So Haiti has this problem, and one of the schools has been occupied by gangs for the last 3 years. I've been to that school about 3 times, and it's a really lovely institution in terms of, I'm not sure, and they invested about over $1 million or 1 point something million just before it was taken over by the gangs in a new building with, all right, that is a Baptist institution. The seminary, theological seminary of Port-au-Prince, STEP is but we ask for prayer for that. Then you have in Cuba, they have a lot of rolling blackouts. We are grateful that we applied for 4 visas for delegates, and those 4 visas were granted. 3 of the 4 people were able to come to our General Assembly here, and they've always been faithful. And we thank God for the support of Dr. Michael Ortiz. He has been very committed to assisting with the financial situation for colleagues coming from Haiti over the years and so forth. And also MESA Global. MESA Global undertook one of the 3 persons who came. Dr. Ortiz took care of the other 2 in terms of airfare. And we got a 50% of airfare grant from Local Leaders International. So, for those who are coming from outside of Jamaica. All right. So then you have Jamaica with the hurricane. It has devastated parts of Jamaica. Some of our schools, people right here in Jamaica, they couldn't come because their schools have been devastated. One school, the budget to repair the facility is over 500,000 Jamaican dollars. And that was a nice campus. Trinidad and Tobago and Guyana, it's close to Venezuela, and they have that whole issue there with Venezuela and so forth, and things are a bit tense down there. So it's very interesting that we have to be very diplomatic, just like you, Elias. We have to be extremely diplomatic. But our region is quite a challenge. But we thank God for all that He's doing in spite of all of these things. And we are seeing that there's a kind of a renewal of interest in CETA. And also we're talking with Michael being here, talking about the importance of ICETE. Thank you so very much.
Thanks, Anthony. We have time for one or two more questions, quick questions. I'll ask a question maybe, and if there's another question afterwards. Yeah, briefly, Eric and Anthony, if you can tell us, how is it that, we're coming from different regions, we're all working towards excellence in theological education, quality assurance, and more or less following the same standards that are developed by ICETE. To what extent is contextualization part of your accreditation standards? How can you give us an example of how you might have adapted some of the standards or chosen not to adopt one standard?
Okay, I'll answer that question briefly. But first, there's a question in the chat from Marielle, and she's asking where are the Cuban schools seeking accreditation from CETA? So what we do there, we also have a team that will include about 2 persons who are fluent in Spanish. Uh, Observing standards, no conflict of interest and that type of stuff. Okay, but they are part of the regional thing. Okay, the
Briefly on the contextualization.
yeah, I think one of our presidents, his doctorate is from a university in England, and he studied at an American school before that, and he pointed out that when he came back to Haiti, he had to have a paradigm shift because so much of what was trained, the theology was sound, but in terms of not dealing with demons or voodoo or so forth. So what we're saying is, as we train people, many of us have earned PhDs. Like I have earned a PhD from Trinity International University, TEDS and so forth, and many of our people now have these kind of degrees. But we are able to work within our context. We understand most of our theological training was done here. So we are training our people to understand, to work on research projects, term papers on our context. And so I think we are doing a much better job of contextualization.
Thank you. Eric?
Yeah, for us too, we haven't changed anything. We've adopted it for what ICETE standards are with ours as well. And so with 8.4 with community and context, we include that, and actually in part of our examples of evidence that we're looking for are policies on contextualization. So this is something we actively look for, and there's many countries, many contexts, many cultural issues, and that's one thing that is important to us as we go in. I think it's helpful also with our visitation and evaluation teams. They're from all over, and so they're aware of that and they look for it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's often, the example that I like to refer to is, a fish in the water. The fish doesn't acknowledge, it doesn't see the water as its environment, as its context. It's, it lives in it. So I'm sure, once you're in the region, your own context, you're familiar with your surrounding and can adapt to things. But sometimes when you interact with other regions and hear from different regions, you can see some of the things that might be adapted or adjusted. Well, thank you both. This has been very informative, and thank you to our guests and members who have tuned into this. I hope this has answered some of your questions, and I'm sure Anthony and Eric will be available if you have additional questions. But we're coming close to the end of our time, so I'll pass it over to Julie.
Thank you all for joining us today and for being with us. Just a few reminders. On April 9th, we will have our monthly prayer gathering, and we would love to have you all be a part of that. You can join that via links in the newsletter, or we often send something out on the WhatsApp group about that also. And then our next ICETE Virtual will be on April 17th, on the third Friday of the month, and we hope to see you all there. But thank you, Eric and Anthony and Elias, for joining us today and being able to share about your regions and what is happening there. But may the Lord bless all of you all. Have a great day.